Hi, welcome back. Today, we're going to cover the top 10 ways to develop self-awareness. To recap from your last lesson, self-awareness is having a high degree of knowledge about yourself. It's awareness of your habits, emotional tendencies, needs, desires, strengths, and weaknesses. Having a high level of self-awareness is a powerful tool. It allows you to change your life more effectively, since you know how you tick. Those that lack self-awareness may find life to be frustrating. So let's cover how you can develop your self-awareness. The first step is to notice your thoughts. Unless you've been meditating for years, your mind is constantly churning through ideas and endlessly providing commentary. You can't just look at a tree and admire it. Your mind has to comment, "That's a beautiful tree." Then it's off to the races. So let's try a little exercise. Throughout the day, try to notice your thinking patterns. What do you think when you're feeling nervous? What do you think when you're feeling bored, interested, walking down the street? Notice that similar situations result in similar thought patterns. The next step in developing your self-awareness is to notice your feelings. What do you feel throughout the day? What do you feel while you're eating, driving to work, lying in bed, waiting in line? Once you notice your emotion, question it. What am I feeling? Why? What do I need right now? How do I normally react in this situation? Is that smart? Okay, now that we've become aware of our thoughts and feelings, the next step is to understand how you deal with frustration or emotional discomfort. Whether you realize it or not, a huge chunk of your time is spent trying to make yourself feel better. If you feel slightly frustrated or uncomfortable, perhaps you try to change others or the situation around you to resolve those negative feelings. Reflect on how you usually deal with your uncomfortable feelings. Do you try to control others? Is your first instinct to leave the situation? Do you attempt to distract yourself? Maybe you surf the internet or eat a big bowl of ice cream. Understanding how you tend to deal with emotional discomfort helps you become self-aware. But there's more to the process. Let's move on to step 4. The fourth step in the process to become self-aware is to examine your friendships. Consider these questions. Where do you find your friends? What types of people do you prefer to be friends with? What types of people do you avoid? Are most of your friendships long-term or short? When your friendships end, what is the common cause? Thinking about your friends leads us to the next step in the process. Step 5 is to examine your intimate relationships. Take a moment to reflect on your closest relationships. Do you see a pattern in the types of people that you've been involved with? What are the negative characteristics they all share? Why do you think those people appeal to you? Take an honest look at your past relationships. What were your shortcomings in these relationships? Are you clingy? Jealous? Too focused on work? Do you fail to communicate your needs? Consider how you contributed to the failure of your relationships. Have you changed your approach from relationship to relationship, or do you continue to repeat your mistakes? Yes, getting to know yourself can be uncomfortable at times, especially when you have to think about things like past relationships. But such soul-searching can also lead you to great insights. Speaking of insights, let's move on to step 6. The 6th step is keeping a journal. There's no better way to learn about yourself than to record your thoughts, feelings, and experiences each day. Studies have shown that we don't remember our past very accurately, so record it while it's still fresh in your mind. Be sure to include your high and low points for the day. Note how well you ate and slept, too. You might find some useful information. Try to create a habit of writing in your journal for at least 15 minutes each day. You'll start to notice your patterns and learn a lot about yourself. While you're writing in your journal, you'll be able to move right on to step 7. Step 7 is write your own manifesto. Think about and then document your views on life, your goals, and your intentions. You might be surprised by what you write. You can write this self-reflection right in your journal. This is a great step for understanding yourself and your beliefs. Another thing that would be good to put into your journal are your thoughts on the next step. Step 8 is to make a list of your strengths and weaknesses. Now that you have your lists, look at each characteristic. How do you know you have this strength or weakness? Are you certain? You'll want to avoid jumping to conclusions. For example, you may have always believed you're a hard worker, but are you really? To whom are you comparing yourself? Why? Provide yourself with proof before you make any decisions. After all, in your journey to self-awareness, you want to know who you really are, which leads us to step 9, which is another strategy you can employ to help you discover who you really are. Step 9 is to determine what others would say about you. Do you know how others perceive you? Consider how your partner, children, friends, family, coworkers, and boss would describe you. What would they say are your dominant qualities? What would they say are your good qualities? What would they suggest you improve about yourself? Do you think you're right about their opinions? Let's do an experiment to find out how perceptive you are. Ask them and see how accurate you are. There is no better way to find out. Take note of what they say, write your notes in your journal, and reflect on their comments. They might have more insight than you realize. Speaking of insight, that leads us right into step 10. Step 10 is to meditate. What is meditation anyway? Meditation is developing a better awareness of the present moment and yourself. It's an ideal activity for enhancing self-awareness. For best results, meditate at least once each day. Let's start with today. Spend the rest of the day paying attention to yourself, others, and your surroundings. You can develop greater self-awareness by just paying attention. As you're paying attention, question yourself throughout the day. For example, in paying attention to yourself, ask yourself, what am I attempting to achieve? Or, what emotions am I currently feeling and why? Or, as you pay greater attention to others, ask yourself, what are the people around me feeling? The more you practice these techniques, the easier they become, and the more you'll learn about yourself and others. Understanding yourself might be the most important part of becoming and living authentically. Now that you have a better understanding of yourself, the next lesson takes you one step further as it guides you through pondering your personal identity. But first, here's what you need to do today. Spend the rest of the day noticing your feelings. Do you see patterns emerging in similar situations? What are they? That's the end of this lesson. We'll continue your journey to authenticity in Lesson 4.